Right now you have rusted metal somewhere on your property. A tool, a gate hinge, an old truck bed, a piece of farm equipment. Most people respond to rust the same way every time. They sand it off, paint over it, and watch it come back within a year because paint sits on top of the problem instead of solving it. There is a chemical reaction that does something completely different. It does not cover the rust. It transforms the rust itself into a permanent protective layer bonded directly to the steel at a molecular level. This is not a new product. It is centuries old. It costs about $3 to mix, and museum conservators use this exact method to preserve ancient iron artifacts today. Here's how it works, and exactly how to do it yourself. Let us start with the actual chemistry, because understanding it is what makes you trust the result. Rust is iron oxide. When a substance called tannic acid comes into contact with iron oxide, the tannic acid binds directly to the iron ions in that rust and forms a brand new compound called ferric tannate. This compound is stable, it is insoluble in water, and it is a deep blue-black color. Critically, it does not sit on the surface the way paint does. It chemically converts the rust layer itself into the protective barrier. You are not hiding the problem under a coating. You are turning the problem into the solution. This is not some recently discovered trick. This exact chemistry is what produces iron gall ink, the ink used in medieval manuscripts that has survived legible on paper for hundreds of years. It is part of the seasoning process on a well-maintained cast iron pan. Roman legionnaires used tannin-based treatments on their iron weapons and armor. Japanese swordsmiths and West African ironworkers independently arrived at similar tannin treatments for blade and tool preservation. Today, institutions like the Canadian Conservation Institute use the same method to stabilize and protect ancient iron artifacts in museum collections. When something has been independently rediscovered across that many centuries and that many cultures, it works. It is also worth knowing that tannic acid itself is not some exotic laboratory chemical. It is a naturally occurring compound found in high concentrations in oak bark, oak galls, tea leaves, and the skins of certain fruits. This is exactly why strongly brewed black tea has been used as an improvised rust treatment for generations, in places where commercial rust converters were not available. The purified powder simply gives you a far more concentrated, consistent, and effective version of a reaction that traditional cultures were already using in cruder forms, long before anyone understood the underlying chemistry. Now here is what is actually wild about this. Commercial rust converter products that use this exact tannic acid chemistry sell for considerably more money than mixing the formula yourself. You can recreate the same active chemistry for about $3 to $6 total. Here is what you need. Food-grade tannic acid powder is your primary ingredient. A 100-gram bag costs $3 to $5 online, and one bag will treat roughly 40 square feet of rusted metal, which is a substantial amount of coverage for the price. Phosphoric acid is optional, but genuinely worth adding. This is sold at any hardware store under the name Naval Jelly, usually for $2 to $3. Adding it helps the tannin solution penetrate more deeply into the rust layer, and it converts any remaining untreated rust into a second stable compound, ferric phosphate, giving you a more complete and more durable result. You will also need distilled water, about $1 a jug. This step is not optional, and skipping it is a mistake. Regular tap water contains chloride ions, and chloride actively accelerates corrosion. Using tap water in this mixture works directly against the entire point of what you are doing. A few safety notes before you start mixing. Tannic acid powder is generally considered safe to handle since it is the same compound found in tea and red wine, but it can irritate your eyes and airways in powder form, so avoid breathing it in while measuring and mixing. Wear gloves when handling naval jelly specifically, since phosphoric acid is genuinely corrosive to skin in its concentrated form and can cause irritation or burns with prolonged contact. Work in a well-ventilated area, keep the mixed solution away from children and pets until it has fully dried, and store any leftover tannic acid powder in a sealed, labeled container away from food items in your kitchen. Now, let us walk through the actual process. This takes about 45 minutes of active work from start to finish, and one important detail before you begin. This method requires existing rust to function. It is not designed to work on bare, rust-free metal because the tannic acid needs iron oxide present to react with and convert. Start by mixing your solution. Dissolve 4 grams of tannic acid powder into 100 milliliters of warm distilled water. It will turn a color similar to strong black tea. Stir in about a teaspoon of naval jelly if you are using it. Next, prepare the surface. Use a wire brush or steel wool to knock off any loose, flaking rust that is not firmly attached to the metal. This is an important distinction. You are removing loose debris, not sanding all the way down to bare metal. The tannin needs the remaining adhered rust layer to react with, so leave that intact. Apply the first coat by brushing the solution evenly across the surface. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you will watch something genuinely satisfying happen. The metal visibly shifts from its original orange-brown rust color through a dark gray transitional stage and finally settles into a deep blue black. That color change is your visual confirmation that the chemical conversion is actually happening in real time. If you are finding value in tricks like this one, things that used to be common knowledge before everything got replaced by disposable products, subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell. Every week we bring back practical, lasting fixes that actually work. Subscribe before you need it. Let the first coat dry completely, which generally takes 2 to 4 hours. Then apply a second thin coat over the top. Multiple thin coats consistently build a denser, more adherent protective layer than one single thick application would, so resist the temptation to load an extra solution in one pass. Once the final coat is fully cured, seal the surface according to what the metal is actually used for. For hand tools, a finish of boiled linseed oil combined with beeswax gives you a traditional, durable, food-safe adjacent seal. For vehicle undercarriages or anything exposed to road grit and impact, a rubberized undercoating spray holds up better against abrasion. For cast iron cookware, finish the process the same way you would season any cast iron pan, with a light coat of oil baked on in the oven. A few common mistakes are worth flagging so your first attempt goes smoothly. If the metal does not shift color within 15 minutes of application, the most likely cause is insufficient existing rust for the tannin to react with, in which case a second coat usually completes the conversion. If you skip the seal step entirely, the ferric tannin layer is still considerably more rust resistant than untreated steel, but it will perform noticeably better and last longer with a proper oil or wax seal locking in the finish. And if you notice the solution turning cloudy or developing a strange odor after sitting mixed for more than a day or two, discard it and mix a fresh batch, since the tannic acid solution does not store well once dissolved in water and is meant to be used within the same session you mix it. Now, let us talk honestly about what this method does and does not do, because overselling it would be a disservice. The finished result does not look like paint. It will not give you a glossy, uniform colored surface. What you get is darkened, slightly blue-black metal that genuinely looks like treated steel rather than a coating sitting on top of steel. If you are expecting a cosmetic transformation, this is not that. If you are looking for genuine corrosion resistance bonded into the metal itself, this delivers exactly that. It is also not a permanent, zero-maintenance solution in every environment. In high chloride conditions, heavy road salt exposure in winter climates, or salt air near the coast, the ferric tannin layer will gradually degrade faster than it would in a dry inland environment, and it will need periodic touch-ups. For general outdoor use in typical conditions, a quick touch-up application once a season is enough to maintain full protection indefinitely. That single seasonal pass is a fraction of the time and cost of stripping and repainting rusted metal the way most people are used to doing. The places this method shines are exactly the places traditional rust solutions fail hardest. Old tools you actually use and want to keep using, garden equipment, gates and hinges, trailer frames, cast iron that gets regular use, and any piece of metal where you would rather treat the existing rust than spend hours grinding it down to bare steel first. It is also worth comparing this directly to commercial rust converter products you would find at an auto parts or hardware store, since they are solving the exact same problem with the exact same core chemistry. Those bottled products are convenient and pre-measured, but you are paying largely for that convenience and the bottling, not for some proprietary advantage you cannot replicate. Once you have mixed this formula yourself a single time, you will likely never see a reason to buy the bottled version again, since the raw materials cost a fraction of the price, and one batch of powder treats far more surface area than a typical commercial bottle. $3, centuries-old chemistry, and rust that becomes the protection instead of the problem. Try it on one rusted tool this weekend and watch the color change for yourself. The next video is already up. Go watch it now.